What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Fit, Healthy, and Most of All Happy podcast. I'm your coach and host, Josh, here with
his co-host and co-coach, KG, and I'm in the house.
And we got a really fun episode today. You're in for a treat. We're going to be rating/reacting to the top TikTok bro gym advice. So these are the bros on TikTok that are just sharing their training hacks or life hacks or nutrition hacks, whatever it is, like the things you need to hear, that typical TikTok advice. And we're going to go through it, and we're actually going to rate each one on a meathead meter. There is no such thing as a meathead meter, so we're going to gauge how just as bro advice is, and if there's any truth to any of it. So without further ado, let's jump in and have some fun and learn some things along the way. So the first one I found was that pickle juice is the secret to PRs. Apparently there's a big pickle juice movement as being the best pre-workout. So pickle juice pre-workout. And you'd say, what the heck, why pickle juice? And there's always some exotic vegetable or fruit or whatever the heck that people say is going to change everything if you take this specific thing. And I think the logic here is with the whole rush of obsession of electrolytes and sodium. And naturally, pickle juice is going to have a ridiculous amount of salt and sodium. And salt and sodium is important for you to actually get pumps in the gym. Now, if you're having a balanced diet, I don't find you need to get overly obsessed with sodiums and or electrolytes. People are way too quick to be obsessed with electrolytes, especially now if you look at all the optimized training, and people are worried about this and they think they're going to just fan out with everything they have. But once again, for most individuals, if you're eating a balanced diet, you're hydrated, you don't need excessive electrolytes. If you point to like football players that are having Gatorade, those guys are doing incredible amounts of activity in crazy hot weather, and there's a time and a place for it where it's great. Even for volleyball, I love to have like a Gatorade just for some extra salt, extra electrolytes for while I'm doing it, because I'm sweating like a pig, I'm in the sun, I'm exercising. But in general, there isn't much of a need to go to extremes with this. So I'd say this is pretty high up on the meathead meter. I would definitely say this is a pretty mega bro on my scale to need to be having pickle juice. Like this point is like a sodium obsession. Like you're just overdoing sodium for no reason. And once again, you do just as well to have normal food, make sure you're hydrated. But on the inverse, if you're not hydrating at all and you don't have enough sodium in your system, if you're really dieted and you're really dieted down, you could explore like a dash of salt in your water. That'll work just as well. There's no need to have excessive amounts. But I have been really lean in a diet, had less food, and really had my pumps suffer as a result of it. So if that's an issue, once again, I would just try like a dash of salt, anywhere to like a teaspoon of salt, and you'll get most of the benefits you need from there. Have some fruit, have some veggies, keep it simple. I really also like coconut water as a source of potassium, but in general, you won't need it. And for most people, you're training an hour and a half. This isn't excessive amounts of activity. It's entirely different than if you're like a marathoner needing a gel pack. But what are your thoughts here, Kyle?
I couldn't agree more. I just think the obsession is kind of crazy. And I think there's just a lot of these companies out there, right? And I'm specifically thinking of one out in the States. I forget what they're called exactly, but they just like have these promotions for all these little packages that you put in your water. And I just think it's kind of crazy because like Josh said, like marathons and Ironmans and like heavy powerlifting, like they're very different stories, having done, a lot of these myself as well. Like it's crazy. You're out there doing hours of work, but a lot of times people will go in for like, I hate to say it, but the most mediocre workout to text the whole time and just be like, I need to get this thing in my water and like add this little package. And a lot of it is just like the marketing, right? Because these people are great at marketing. So I know it's like kind of on, not exactly relating to pickle juice, but it is funny because people are so obsessed with these little things, be like, oh, I want to lift heavier. Like, let me get some pickle juice and the salt packages and all these extra things. And you're just kind of like going in to do average work. So yeah, I would say Mega Bro is definitely up there, and I can relate to that. So
yeah, and Kyle nailed it. Stop thinking about pickle juice, start thinking about your workouts. Like there's too much obsession with around the workouts, the supplementation, the special intra workout that you're going to have that's going to change your pumps. But like Kyle said, if it's a mediocre workout, you're not training hard, you're not actually applying yourself. Like it's misapplied effort.
And next up we have stop doing warm-ups, waste of time. Go in cold and primal. And I had to add a little bit of a deep voice there because I could picture someone just being super intense with this, saying like, don't warm up, just go in and absolutely crush it. So yeah, I would say this is like probably up there in like an ultimate bro. Now, what I will say, and this is a nice educational video as well, and like topic where you guys can learn stuff. I think there's too little warm-ups and then there's too much warm-up, right? There's some people who will roll on the ground, they'll foam roll, they'll spend like 30 to 40 minutes just getting ready for, once again, maybe a mediocre session, and not to put anyone down, but I see that happen a lot. And then there's some people who would just like walk it right into the gym and just like toss heavy weights and just like not warm up at all. There's definitely a good balance where I think you should be spending some time doing a bit of mobility, swinging your arms, swinging your legs and whatnot. But to me, like, you absolutely should not go in and just like start crushing the weights. Like, your body does need to warm up to avoid injury and just to like get used to it. But of course you shouldn't be doing like a crazy amount where it's just like you're spending your entire session just like rolling around and just like swinging your arms around and stuff like that. So I'm gonna have to say this is ultimate, bro, but I'm curious what Josh has to say.
Yeah, I'd put this somewhere as like a medium on the meter, somewhere in the halfway. I understand the logic because I've had frustrations with warm-ups too. I absolutely think you should always warm up. I always warm up to some threshold. I think for a while there, it got absolutely crazy, especially when science-based lifting was first coming. People were foam rolling for 20 minutes, doing interpretive dances, getting on a treadmill, doing 25 warm-up sets. I distinctly remember my one friend, he was super into this world. He came to the gym with me and Kyle, with his girlfriend, and me and Kyle finished our entire workout. We lifted an hour and a half, and he just started his first exercise. I'm like, this is crazy. Like, who has the time for this? But at the same time, some people do need to warm up longer. If you have a history of injury, if you've hurt yourself, like, you should absolutely spend the time warming up as much as you need. I just think people would put warming up in place of actually working hard, and they'll lift less because they're warming up so much. And this whole obsession with primal is what really gets broy to me. Like, if you think of like Liver King and this is how your ancestors did it, like, the logic of that is just ridiculous. Like, you're in a modern world, you want to utilize modern benefits, right? Like, if you want to be primal, you'll go sleep in the woods and you wouldn't necessarily be training in the gym, right? You'd just be lifting logs and stuff like that. So that's where they kind of lose me. But I think you always want to warm up, but you want to warm up intelligently, and you want to optimize for how can I be most efficient with my time where I can adequately warm myself out without taking away too much time from my workout, especially if you're a busy individual, you're going to have limited time. So that's where I'd throw them somewhere in the middle. And once again, you can see both sides to this. And keep in mind, you want to be healthy and balanced and have a good mobility ability, have a good predisposition to avoiding injury by being strong and healthy, so that on the days you have less time to warm up, you don't need to take as long. But some days when you have more time, you can really warm up, really get yourself going. Even me with my shoulder, I've worked really hard towards that. So I'd throw them somewhere on the middle, but definitely agree with everything Kyle said. Next up, we have, you have to be trained. You have to train fasted if you actually want to lose fat. And this one has been around for forever. I remember this when I started, and when I first saw it, I'm like, this is it. Now I finally know how to lose fat. This is the secret. Hugh Jackman used to talk about this like crazy. Every magazine would say this is why Wolverine's so shredded, even though Wolverine was probably doing a bunch of steroids, because he would get ridiculously shredded. And I think it's been kind of proven with his later physiques, but you would think like this is the magic secret. And naturally with stuff like this, you want there to be a secret. You're like, this is all I need to do is train fasted. Makes sense, right? If I don't have food in my system, my body will burn the fat, and I'll just burn the fat that way, and then I can eat how I want to eat after. But science has disproven this time and time again. The only benefit to fasting and training fasted is potentially like if it feels better for you. Like, some people feel very lethargic and can't train as well on food, but theoretically it will be suboptimal because you're not supplying your body with glycogen, energy, carbs. Like, food is energy. You're not supplying it with what it needs during a workout, and that's where you can kind of get the lightheadedness and where maybe the pickle juice starts to come in, if you will. So that's where like this is kind of sold as a certain thing. And the one benefit to fasting is you can eat more food in a set amount of time. So it's not even often that you're like in a deficit by any regards. It's just that you're eating how many calories you should be eating because you have less of a window to do it. And you could just achieve that by still having a breakfast, spacing out your meals, not overeating at night. So there isn't a need to do this, and that isn't the way it works. If you don't eat food, you're not going to burn fat. Like, it would make sense hypothetically, but it's been disproven with science, and ultimately you're just putting yourself in a worse position to train. Saying so, like I said, if it feels better for you, you're welcome to do it. I just find it suboptimal, and I even find I get a little hungry towards the end of my workout, and I still eat about 600 calories before, and that's because I train pretty hard. I go through it pretty quick, and food is fuel, and you'll notice too, like when you have more fuel, you're able to train harder and with more intensity. So this one to me is like, We'll call it modest meathead, because I think this is someone who's learning. I understand the attraction for this quick fix, thinking you found the secret to life, but the reality is if you want to lose fat, you just need to be in a deficit, and there's multiple ways to achieve that deficit, but you're not getting any magic tricks by training fasted.
Okay, so this next one's very interesting, mainly because I've changed my beliefs over the years. So it is no pain, no gain. So I used to actually be against this because I felt like it kind of gave the wrong message. And on Monday, I was talking about how soreness doesn't equal results and how some people will overdo it and beat themselves up thinking they need to be sore and like be in pain. So I did believe that, but now I am under the belief that a lot of people, especially seeing how some of these gyms operate with like very low intensity, with very distracted training, with a lot of phones, with a lot of that, I feel like there's not enough intensity and there's just too little pain, I guess you could say. So I do believe that in order to get to the next level, you should be pushing close to failure, not until failure, but you should have a couple reps left in the tank where when you are doing an exercise, you should feel not pain. So that's where I have to kind of put a little bit of a disclaimer here, but you should feel uncomfortable. If you're doing leg raises and you're just rushing through them and that's it, you're probably pushing a little bit too short. Like you should start to feel the muscle working. You should start to feel a crazy, nice contraction and pump. And I'm going to have to say, like, if I were to give this a rating, I give it a valid meathead. I give it a valid bro, because once again, like if you're pushing your bicep curls and you have 10 left in the tank and you're not feeling any sort of essential pain, I guess you could say, then it's too easy for you. Whereas if you're like shaking at the end and you're squeezing and you're like, oh my gosh, like you all know that feeling of like when you push yourself, then that's when you're going to get the best results possible. So that's my personal belief. Not that you should be in pain consistently. Like I said, pain is something you have to be careful of, like, but discomfort, yeah, absolutely. Like that's what the gym is for. And so I'm going to give this a valid bro, personally speaking.
Yeah. And me and Kyle talk about this a lot because when we started, we were bros. It was like, let's pick up the most weight we can. Let's train hard. Let's have someone help us force a couple extra force reps. Let's do force negatives. We did all this crazy stuff, right? And everyone kind of went away from that with the science-based crowd. And now you're really seeing this new generation get back to that. And I think like you look back to these old school videos of Tom Platz, Arnold Schwarzenegger, just training like animals, training hard and growing from it. And the reality is you need to learn to train hard and really have some pain, like Kyle said, to know what you're capable of. And if you never get to that threshold, you'll never really know your capacity. It's like if you walked everywhere and you never ran in your life, you'd really not know how fast you are. And you'd be working in this like little tiny capability of what you have. And then when you sprint, you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize how much that can come out of that. The negative obviously would be there's more capacity to get injured the more crazy you get. But at the same time, like Kyle said, I think training really hard, training with intention, optimizing for form, warming up, being intelligent is the way to go, right? If you're someone who just doesn't train very hard, you're not going to see very much progress. And those are most generally the people you see in the gym that never really change. They're there every day. They're doing all the same exercise as you. And for some reason, it's not working. It's because they're not pushing themselves again. So I have to agree with Kyle and go valid bro here, because there is a component to it. You do need to push yourself within reason. You don't want to be stupid and you don't want to hurt yourself. And there's a time and a place too for just really heavy, intense sessions where you have a buddy spotting you, screaming at you, whatever. And not just bros, broettes as well. Like it's cool. I actually noticed like as a net, like a lot of women actually train harder. Like the girls that are in there training hard, like they get after it. They see results. Even today I mentioned how there's one girl and I had a lot of respect because she's not on her phone in between sets. She's spaced out thinking into a nice intentional set, spaced out thinking into a nice intentional set. And you'll notice too, like usually the people that do a set with their phone out or they whip out their phone immediately, those people tend not to have the best physiques, whereas people are really focused, intentional. They're making that time in the gym count. They're pushing themselves really hard each set with intention. It's a very different story. They're asking for spots. So I definitely have to go valid bro here as well. This next one's a really funny one, and that's if your girl doesn't know your macros, she's not the one. So we'll say if your girl or your boy, whatever, either side don't know your macros, they're not the one. This one's kind of funny because I will say I've always loved, like I obviously love when my wife cooks for me and stuff, and I always joke because I saw a meme and I always tell her about it. She's like, you're so annoying with this, because it said like when you've had a really tough day and you come home and your wife made you a meal that's low in protein, and it's just a guy like smashing his computer or something. And I thought it was so funny because because obviously I eat a lot of protein, right? I'm eating over 200 grams. I'm heavy. I'm like 218 pounds. So I'm trying to eat about that every single day. And obviously for me to hit that, I need to have protein rich meals. I like it. I train really hard. It helps me. So it is funny. I don't know if like my wife knows my exact macros, but it is true. Like it is good to know like, hey, I'm optimizing for protein. You know, you kind of come to expect it. Even with me, she's like, yeah, you're just like, I know you're really solid with that stuff. And people like, I'll always find ways to kind of make it fit and find those exceptions. So this one to me is just kind of funny. I think it's a good one, right? And I think it's even cool, like for us in our program, we notice like one person will come in from a couple, they'll kill it, and they'll be like, hey, here's my husband or my wife, I'm going to bring them in as well. And they start crushing it, and then they start growing and excelling together. I think when there's such a divide and like you're on macros and you care about protein, your partner just doesn't care and just like eats anything under the sun, it gets really messy because it's hard to succeed. And then people have some resentment when they're eating with their partner because they're not seeing success. They'll only see it when they kind of isolate and eat separately from them. So I think you do need some congruence there, and you need to both be on the same page in a certain way. So I think that's pretty funny. So I'd say almost valid, bro. It's a little bit intense, but it's pretty funny.
I would agree with that, because I do believe like when we look at our clients, when we look at ourselves, like everything, like usually when you're in line and like the other person understands at least like where you're coming from and like what you will say no to and what you shouldn't have, like I think that is a very important part of the journey. Of course, you can always say no, you can always say yes, but like that person that you're always with, like that will make a difference. And I see some people all like consistently being brought down because there's the temptations from what the other person's doing, and like they don't really understand that other person. And I do believe that it really does make a difference. Like I've had to have some uncomfortable conversations with people where I'm like, hey, like you shouldn't be eating out every day. Like you actually like I know that even one person specifically, like they would always have their meals cooked, and that's awesome, but like then the protein's getting destroyed, and it really does make a difference. So yeah, I think that is definitely an almost valid one, but I think the principle stands true, which is very important, right? And the next one is dry scooping pre-workout is better because it hits harder. And this is something I used to believe as well, because, you know, I just thought that like it would hit the system quicker and like you feel this crazy jolt. And if you've ever tried doing it, and I don't recommend it, it does feel pretty intense, right? So what's funny is there's actually been studies that have come out from there basically saying that the effect of the pre-workout is actually significantly less than if you were to just be sipping it with water, which is pretty crazy, right? Because it's more of like a mental thing where you just take it, you feel intense. And I used to do it for powerlifting meets where I'm like, I'm about to hit a heavy lift. I would just take the pre and just like shove it in my mouth. And it's just a funny one, right? Because I remember all of those moments, but this is just like such a bro thing. I don't see it as often, but I just remember it was like such a massive phase where people would just like walk in the gym and just like dry scoop it. I would say it's like pretty hardcore bro, to be honest, just to like actually take the pre-workout, shove it in your mouth without like, you know, sipping on it and just enjoying it. I would say this is pretty maximum bro, if I'm going to be honest with you. But yeah, that's my thought there.
I didn't know about that statistic. I was going to say, oh, maybe there's some logic behind it because maybe you're having it all at once instead of sipping it in some intensity. So I learned something new there. And for me, I never liked this because like for me, I just wanted to cough out all of the dry powder. It just was not enjoyable and it was intense. But I'll say when I see someone do it, I'm like, this person's a beast. Like I've always thought it was pretty crazy, and it's kind of hype, and you know it's going to be like that kind of nuts workout, which is kind of fun. And you're just looking back at high school, like all the silliness that happened and all the fun with it. Like, I mean, if you never try it, maybe you should try it and see what happens. I think it's a little bit crazy. Like I said, it's not for me. I just like sipping pre-workout, but I think that's pretty funny. And I can understand the placebo though. I definitely can, because even Kyle would be like, I'll dry scoop this pre right now. And you're like, whoa, you know, like it just makes everyone think like this is going to be a crazy workout. Like it's going to be like one of those days, you know? So I could see like the broiness of it, and like it's kind of fun going through these phases of the fun silly things you do like that, right? And like the little gym memories and learning the little funny things. So I definitely say this is pretty bro, like Kyle said, but I could see how people have fun with it. And like even back in high school, like it was just fun doing dumb stuff like this. So it's something I look back fondly. I don't think there's a necessity for it. I know some people like it just because quick, like they'll do it in their car. I forget who. There was some girl, I remember she just in her car, just scooped it, put it in her mouth, had her water, and said, I just prefer it. It's quick, it's easy, and moves on. So that was kind of interesting as well. But Yeah, so I'd say pretty bro here. Next up is you'll lose gains if you miss a day. You got to be perfectly consistent. And my answer might surprise you. I'd say that this is very bro because it just really misses the entire picture. So I'd say this is almost maximum bro because I'm going to be the first person to say you need to be consistent. Consistency is everything. But consistency is also accepting imperfection. Because one thing time and time again, I'll have a client who's killed it for half a year say, I really screwed up this weekend. Like everything's done, the scale's up, life's over, it's all been good, it's done, I'm done, I can never be fit again. I'm like, chill. Like for 6 months, consider how many weekends, how many days, day in, day out, you've been consistent, you've been stacking wins. The totality of your action is way more than your one slip up, right? The sum of your effort really beats this exception. And I tell this to my clients all the time, like it's gonna happen. There's weeks where you're gonna miss a workout, you're gonna do 4 instead of 5. And we really wanna eliminate these weeks and minimize them, but it's not to say it will never happen. And one day out of the entire year is going to be pretty much unnoticeable in your actual total results. The exception is you do this often, you do this every single week, right? That's a very different story. And by working out consistently 5 out of 5 times a week, you're going to see those results. So it's about the sum. If you can say the sum of your actions is better than these little slip ups, you're going to be better for it. We're all going to have tough weeks. We're going to have challenges. We're all going to slip up. And I think the more you accept that, it's a more natural and healthy position towards fitness and health because it allows you to actually like do it realistically. This is a cool mindset. It's fun for a few months, few weeks. And then I love the example, your sister's wedding, which is funny. So I don't even have a sister, but you're at your sister's wedding and you want to have a good time. Your whole family's there. It's a very special night, whatever. And you overeat. And then you're like, oh, I screwed up everything. And then these are the people who just like stop. And then it'll turn into a week bender because they're like had one bad day. So that's where like, I'm not crazy about this. Like I said, it's more about the sum and the attitude. And you say, hey, I missed a workout this week. I'll get that all the time. It's like, hey, never miss twice. Next week, no matter what, let's get 5 in. How can we get it earlier? How can we plan ahead? How can we set that standard? And like just those little things, like you can autocorrect and actually be in a better position for success. So that's where like the hoorah is fun and you can use it if it fuels you, but you really do need to zoom out and say like, am I actively like the sum of what I do? Is that a better example of who I am?
And last but not least, you don't need protein powder, just 8 eggs raw before bed. So I don't know when this trend started, but I see it so often of people just kind of like pre-workout, but now it's turned into eggs, just like dry scooping and just like chugging raw eggs. Honestly, to me, this like has to be like the bro of the bro. Like, I don't know what the consequences are of that. I could never imagine myself like wanting to just drink raw eggs like that. I'd just rather take a few minutes and toss it on the oven and just like have them and actually enjoy them. But yeah, to me, this is just like honestly very broy. And it seems like anybody now these days, and it's very big on TikTok and some of you probably see on Instagram, just like when they have like these cutting boards with like their big, like their steak, their avocado, their eggs, like that's like one side of like the ultimate bros and just like people who will only eat that type of food. It's another story for another day. And then there's the other side where people are just like, man, I have to get this many eggs in, or they wake up and they're just like chugging raw eggs. To me, I just couldn't imagine enjoying it. I've never tried it, so I can't speak to it, but I'd have to say this is quite broy and something I don't plan on doing.
Yeah, I see this as like Salmonella roulette because you're exposing yourself to so much bacteria. Raw eggs is a rough go, and I understand there's a lot of protein. It's quick. You can chug it per se, but to me, it just seems unnecessary, and I'd say this is bro max. Like this is Rich Piana level bro. Rest in peace. That guy was like the bro, or if you want to go Liver King, like we're getting pretty crazy there. But as always, there's always a shred of truth to some of the craziness. So like Kyle said, I've liked this push of the bro eating, of people saying, hey, ditch the protein powder, eat some food. And you'll see guys just eating like a whole thing of beef, just sitting down with beef and eggs, just like going to the basics. But ultimately it is true. Like food is what you need to grow. Food is great for you for health. Supplementals are supposed to fill gaps when you're busy, when you're in a rush, when you don't have the ability to cook. So in general, I try to get most of my source of protein from whole foods. And like I try to avoid all the excess if I can, because I think there is nothing better than just a great diet. And even like these whole cutting board dinner things. Like, I think it's cool in a sense that it's encouraging people like, hey, cook more, eat better foods. And obviously a lot of these are very basic and kind of stripped down examples, but I wouldn't go to these extremes. And also I think these crazy shakes, like guys get obsessed with these shakes, skinny dudes that want to bulk in particular, skinny girls who want to bulk, they'll do these crazy shakes and they'll think that's what's going to help them put on muscle, but they'll completely neglect how many calories they're eating in a day and being in a surplus. And like, cause you're chugging some shake, it's not going to do it. You're just going to get sick. You're going to despise it. You're probably going to eat less during the day because of it. And these people end up losing weight when they do crazy stuff like this. It's not necessary. It's just crazy. You feel like you're doing some crazy thing. You're like, I'm hardcore. I have 8 raw eggs before bed. It's unnecessary. And once again, like too many people struggle just for the sake of struggling. Like it's some patch of pride, but you absolutely don't need to. Like there's a smart way to go about it. And like me and Kyle made a lot of mistakes. And I look back and I'm like, what a stupid thing to do. And if you want to avoid it and you want to avoid myths and you want to avoid falling victim to like these different things, work with us one-on-one. We're online fitness coaches. We have over 5,000 transformations. If you like what me and Kyle have to say, you'll like it more when we're coaching you one-on-one, calling you out, giving you some love, giving you support, giving you everything you need to see results in your transformation, custom routine, custom meal plans, custom nutrition, accountability, everything behind that to help you succeed in any circumstance, get you nice and equipped for your sister's wedding, all of that great stuff. So if you want to learn more about what we do, no pressure at all. And if you want to submit an application, check out our website. That's the first link in the description. If you love this episode or you see crazy TikToks, send them to us. Let us know. We'll do a part 2 if enough people say they like it. So also you can comment on Spotify or iTunes. Let us know if you like it there. But once again, check out our coaching to learn more because we want to get you better results so you don't have to struggle because you absolutely don't need to. Thanks for tuning in today. Peace out.